في خلقكم وما يبث من دابة آيات لقوم يوقنون.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. In today's series of animals in the Quran, we're going to learn about another very interesting and clever insect. This insect sometimes scares us because it stings, but it's actually a beautiful creature that loves buzzing around flowers and gives us something that's delicious and very healthy. Can you guess what it is? Yes, that's right. It's the honeybee. When you think of bees, what comes to your mind? That's right, honey. It's sweet and yummy. In the Quran, Allah mentions a few animals, insects, and plants. Allah doesn't do anything without a purpose. Bees are actually really clever and beautiful creatures, and we can learn so much from them. So sit back and listen carefully. Bees are very special. In fact, there is a whole surah in the Quran that Allah has mentioned by the name An-Nahl, which means the honeybees. Allah wants us to learn from this small insect, so listen attentively and let's see what we can learn from the honeybees. Every little living creature, from the flies to the mosquitoes to even the green leaves, obey and praise Allah all the time. Allah is the one who teaches all creations in this universe what to do and guides them. So how does a small insect make such an amazing thing like honey? Well, first, the female worker bees travel to lands far and wide, or even to the top of the mountains to search for the best and most beautiful flowers, while the drone bees help the queen bee and build a home to store the honey. The female bees carefully go to each flower and suck a sweet fluid called nectar from them. They then carry this nectar in their tummy and come back to their homes, which is also called a hive, made by the bees out of beeswax. They empty this nectar and then work really hard to make it thick. And finally, that's how we get yummy honey. Phew, that was hard work, wasn't it? Scientists did lots of research to find all of this very recently. But do you know what's so amazing? It's the fact that all of this is mentioned so clearly in the Quran 1,400 years ago itself. Subhanallah. Listen carefully to what Allah says in Surah An-Nahl, verse 68 to 69.
وأوحى ربك إلى النحل أن اتخذي من الجبال بيوتا ومن الشجر ومما يعرشون ثم كلي من كل الثمرات فاسلكي سبل ربك ذللا يخرج من بطونها شراب مختلف ألوانه فيه شفاء للناس إن في ذلك لآية لقوم يتفكرون.
Meaning, and your Lord inspired the bee, take from yourself among the mountain houses and among the trees, and in that which they construct, then eat from all the fruits and follow the ways of your Lord laid down for you. These are the rulings Allah gave to the bees, and they obey Him without any doubt. With the guidance of Allah, the bees go to the mountains, houses, or even on top of trees to build something. Can you recall what it's called? Yes, that's right. It's the honeycomb. They construct this house by using a special wax from their body. Do you know how honeybees make honey? Allah then says in the same verse in Surah An-Nahl, the bees, Eat from all the fruits and follow the ways of your Lord. And that's why the bees buzz around the flowers. Red, blue, yellow, or pink, bees love all flowers. They collect the nectar and emerge with a drink in their belly. They then go to their houses, that is the honeycomb, and empty this drink, and the cycle goes on and on. This is how we get our delicious honey. Subhanallah. Do you know what's even more interesting? Allah doesn't just tell us how honey is made, He also tells us about its goodness. Shall we listen to it together? In Surah An-Nahl, verse 69, Allah says,
يخرج من بطونها شراب مختلف ألوانه فيه شفاء للناس إن في ذلك لآية لقوم يتفكرون.
Which means variant in colors, which there is a healing for people. Indeed, and that is a sign for people who give a thought, for everybody who has understanding. These are the signs from Allah, because He wants us to learn from honeybees. Honeybees inspire us to reflect on their knowledge and hard work. So what can we learn from them? The first one is that honeybees inspire us to work together. Teamwork and being together is so important. Each one of them goes to different flowers and they suck out the thick fluid called nectar. From each flower, they then come back to the hive and pour out the nectar in their belly. When it puts the nectar in the hive, the nectar is very runny and flowy, but our honey is thick, right? So what does it do next? Each bee chooses to thicken and make it solid. They then store this nectar, which has now turned into honey, in the honeycomb. All of this only happens because they work together. They don't fight and are always busy helping each other to build their hive. So what does this teach us? This teaches us that we have to work as a team and understand each other in order to succeed. We can't say, "Oh, I'm not going to share my ideas with her because she's going to do it." We Muslims must work as a team and as an ummah to get the same goal and succeed in both worlds, insha'Allah. The second one is, honeybees teach us to strive to obey Allah. Do you think honeybees knew by themselves how to make honey? Of course not. So, who taught them? Yes, that's right, Allah. Can you recall the ayah where Allah inspired the bees and taught us how to make honey? So, this means that the bees obey Allah. It's not just the bees, but all the creatures on this earth and the universe obey Allah. Bees teach us that when Allah gives you instructions and guidance, we should follow it because Allah tells us only that which is good and best for us. We should do what Allah has mentioned in the Quran and what Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us because that's how we will find true peace in our hearts and enter Jannah. The next lesson honeybees teach us is to be productive. Honeybees are always busy buzzing around. It's always busy collecting nectar from the flowers or building the hive. It has a time to go out and get the nectar. Even when it comes back to its home, it doesn't rest, but rather works actively to build the hive with other worker bees. There is also a queen bee, and the worker bees work under her while the female bees go and find the nectar. Every bee in the hive has a particular task, and they all work together so well to give us yummy honey. The fourth lesson is that bees teach us to be selfless. Do you know what being selfless means? That's right. It means to do something without expecting anything in return. For example, I help or give something to Hamza, but I do it without expecting anything in return and out of love. You can also take the example of charity. You give charity and you don't get anything in return, but you still do it. Why? Because you do it for the sake of Allah. So what makes the bees selfless? The bees work really hard and go to far-off places to find beautiful flowers. They then carefully pick out the nectar and fly all the way back to its home and puts the nectar in the hive. But do they make all this honey for themselves? No! They work so hard to make all this honey for us to eat. Allah says there is shifa for us in honey. Shifa means cure from diseases. Subhanallah! This is why the bees are selfless. What if the bee goes, I will not make honey for anybody? Even though we keep taking the honey from the hive, they keep working so hard to make honey again and again so we can use it as a cure against diseases with the help of Allah. Allah says in the Quran that there is a healing for people in honey. When you cut your finger and put honey on it, the cut heals because it has so many benefits. There is someone very special to us who loved honey. Can you guess who that was? Our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He loved honey so much that he used it as a remedy and in his food as well. This was our lesson of what we learned from the bees. We must try to practice this in our lives and try really hard to work together as a team. Obey Allah and keep ourselves busy in doing good to succeed in both worlds. Insha'Allah. We must strive to follow the Sunnah and use honey as a remedy in our food as well. Instead of using sugar in your cupcake, you can use honey. It's very healthy and you get rewards for following the Sunnah too. Jazakumullahu khair. Thank you so much for listening patiently. We hope you all enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to like this video and share it with your friends and family so they can also learn about the wonderful bees while you earn the reward of spreading knowledge, insha'Allah. See you all very soon in the next episode with another exciting and interesting animal episode, insha'Allah.
وفي خلقكم وما يبث من دابة آيات لقوم يوقنون